In 2008, two people experienced the exact same market crash. Both had stable jobs. Both had savings. Both were intelligent. When the market collapsed, the first person panicked. He sold his investments, moved everything to cash, waited for stability. The second person did something uncomfortable. She kept buying, month after month, while headlines predicted disaster. 10 years later, their financial lives looked nothing alike. Not because one worked harder, not because one earned more, but because one had a different psychological framework. And that difference changes everything. Most people believe wealth is built with income. It's not. It's built with behavior under pressure. And the brutal truth? Most people are not trained to behave correctly under pressure. They are trained to seek comfort, to reduce fear, to avoid loss, which sounds reasonable, until you realize those instincts quietly prevent wealth from forming. Let's start with the smallest mistake, the one that looks harmless. Benjamin Franklin once warned, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." We imagine financial failure as dramatic. Bankruptcy, a failed business, a massive bad investment. But wealth rarely disappears in explosions. It leaks, quietly. The upgraded car when the old one worked. The apartment slightly above budget. The habit of rewarding every raise with lifestyle expansion. No single decision destroys wealth, but repeated small comfort decisions do. And here's the part nobody explains. Those decisions are emotional, not financial. In 1776, Adam Smith wrote, "Consumption is the sole end and purpose of all production." Most people live exactly this way. They produce to consume. They work to spend. They measure success by visible upgrades. But wealth builders reverse this order. They produce to acquire assets. They delay visible reward. They detach ego from spending. The average person increases income and increases lifestyle. The wealth builder increases income and increases ownership. That difference compounds quietly, over decades, and most people never notice the fork in the road. Let's return to our two investors in 2008. The one who sold felt relief. Relief feels safe. Safety feels intelligent. But safety often locks in mediocrity. John D. Rockefeller once said, "The way to make money is to buy when blood is running in the streets." That isn't about recklessness. It's about emotional discipline. When fear dominates the crowd, assets transfer. When headlines scream, opportunity whispers. The investor who kept buying wasn't fearless. She simply understood that discomfort is often the entry price of growth. Most people avoid discomfort and unknowingly avoid wealth. Here's the deeper layer. Markets are volatile. Careers are volatile. Economies are cyclical. None of that is new. What destroys wealth isn't volatility. It's emotional reaction to volatility. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Most people attempt to control markets, control outcomes, control timing. But wealth builders focus on controlling behavior. They automate investments. They reduce impulsive decisions. They build systems that protect them from themselves. Because the greatest financial risk isn't the market. It's human psychology. The brutal truth about wealth is this. It requires becoming psychologically uncommon. It requires delayed gratification, comfort with uncertainty, detachment from status signaling, long-term thinking in a short-term world. That identity feels isolating, feels boring, feels slow, but slowness compounds. Flash rarely does. The difference between the two investors in 2008 wasn't intelligence. It was identity. One saw volatility as danger. The other saw volatility as temporary. One sought relief. The other sought opportunity. Over 10 years, that psychological gap became a financial canyon. Why doesn't anyone explain wealth this way? Because it doesn't sell quickly. It doesn't promise speed. It doesn't blame the system. Quietly says, your emotional habits matter more than your income, and that requires responsibility, which is uncomfortable. Becoming wealthy isn't about discovering a hidden tactic. It's about recognizing hidden patterns in yourself. Most people never pause long enough to examine those patterns. If this perspective shifted the way you think about money, good. That shift is where wealth actually begins. On this channel, we examine the psychology behind financial outcomes. Not trends, not hype, but the mental frameworks that shape decades. If that interests you, subscribe. In the next video, we'll break down the difference between earners and builders, and why most high-income individuals never cross the line into real wealth. Because the gap isn't what most people think. It's much quieter than that.